Mary, sorry to interrupt your work. What can I do for you? I wanted to speak with you because I couldn't catch you yesterday, you were out of sight. Nicole saw me, so I'm sure you've realized by now that John and I are dating. I'm Mary, 35 years old, working as a nurse at the largest hospital in our area. I'm married to John, who is a doctor at a nearby clinic. We have 2 young sons, aged 3 and 5. John used to work at my hospital but switched to a clinic for more flexible hours once we had kids, avoiding night shifts. Although I could stay home since John's job supports us comfortably, I find housework isn't quite fulfilling, so I keep working. Balancing work and parenting is a whirlwind. I start early with preparing lunches, handling breakfast, laundry, and then dropping the kids off at daycare before heading to the hospital. John, on the other hand, doesn't need to be at the clinic until 9, so he sleeps in until around 8. By the time he's up, the kids and I are already on the move. He enjoys a leisurely start to his day, finishes up in the evening, and returns home around 9. By then, I'm usually at my most exhausted, having managed dinner, baths, and bedtime routines for the kids. Still, I always make sure to prepare John's dinner and tidy up. I don't mind him not helping around the house. In fact, I prefer he doesn't, as redoing his work would be more of a hassle. John always thanks me for dinner, and his appreciation makes me feel good. How about we go to the zoo this Sunday? Really? That sounds wonderful. I'm sure the kids will love it. John plans these outings on his days off, and the kids adore spending time with him. At the zoo, they were running around and seemed so joyful. Seeing their happiness made me realize what true happiness feels like. Here you go, Mary. Huh? John handed me a charming cell phone accessory with a blue penguin. It matched the light blue penguin charm on his own phone. I felt a bit shy, like a pair of high school sweethearts, but it warmed my heart. Thanks, it's a little embarrassing, but it makes me happy. You know, penguins are very loyal. Some spend their entire lives with the same partner. John's comment made me smile. I thought about how we might be like those penguins, staying together through whatever life throws at us. One day, after finishing work, I hurried out of the hospital's bike parking lot, heading to the daycare. Are you Mary? Yes, that's me. An unfamiliar young woman approached me. Given her striking appearance and long hair, I wondered if she was a nurse from another department. She certainly stood out, but I didn't recognize her. I'm Nicole. I've been meaning to thank you for all the support John has given me. I happened to see you and thought I'd introduce myself. Sorry if I startled you. Oh, you know my husband. Are you here for a checkup today? No, it's just a coincidence. I was just passing by. Nicole turned to leave, and I couldn't shake a feeling of discomfort. The bike parking lot, restricted to staff and located behind the hospital, didn't seem like a place she'd have any reason to be. It felt as though she had been waiting for me, but why? Uneasy, I glanced at my watch and quickly pedaled my bike toward the daycare. That night, as soon as John got home, I asked him about Nicole. John, a woman named Nicole came by the hospital today and introduced herself to me. Do you know her? Huh, she came to see you. John looked genuinely surprised. She's a nurse at my clinic. Why would a nurse from your clinic come to greet me? I'm not sure. I'll ask her next time I see her. John seemed eager to wrap up the conversation, which only fueled my mistrust. The next time I saw Nicole was about 2 weeks later, in front of our house. The daycare had called me at work because our eldest son had a fever and needed to be picked up. As I was biking home with the kids, I noticed Nicole and John standing in front of our house. Instinctively, I slammed on the brakes and pulled over. Even from a distance, it was clear who they were. I quickly dialed John's number to confirm. Hey, Mary, what's up? I'm quite busy at work right now. Despite him being clearly visible in front of our house, his response seemed odd. I'm sorry to bother you. Our eldest has a fever, so I'm heading home. Just thought I'd let you know. I see. Okay, I'll try to get home early. He hung up abruptly. Nicole and John immediately walked toward the clinic, and I decided to wait before heading home. Thankfully, my son was in good spirits despite his fever, so there wasn't much to worry about. I settled him in front of his favorite cartoon and took a moment to relax. However, the image of John and Nicole lingered in my mind. I hated that I was letting doubt creep in, but I couldn't ignore it. I clutched the penguin charm on my cell phone, hoping for reassurance. When John arrived home that evening, He was attentive and concerned about our son. He truly was a devoted family man. Still, I wanted to believe that he wasn't involved in anything inappropriate. Mary, is something wrong? Did you come home this afternoon, John? Why do you ask? John's visible discomfort only heightened my suspicion. No, it's nothing. I just noticed the chair seemed to have been moved. I thought maybe you came home for lunch. No, I didn't come home. It must be your imagination. He laughed awkwardly and started reading the newspaper, clearly wanting to end the conversation. Just my imagination, huh? I let the matter go for the moment, but an uneasy feeling lingered as I went to bed. The conversation with John still weighed heavily on my mind. The next day, with our son's fever finally down, I dropped him off at daycare and headed back to work. While on duty, the head nurse informed me that a visitor was waiting for me. Curious, I went to the lobby and found Nicole standing there. Hello, Mary, sorry to interrupt your work. What can I do for you? I saw you yesterday and thought I should come by and introduce myself properly. Nicole's presence was irksome. She'd been much more formal before, but now her flirtatious manner was grating. I thought you might have figured it out by now, but I'm dating John. John told me he prefers younger women, like me, so maybe it's time for you to step aside. Do you understand? Not really. John and I are together, does that make it clear? Nicole then showed me a picture on her smartphone, a cozy hotel room snapshot of her and John in robes, looking content. Was his recent business trip just a cover? Seeing my reaction, Nicole smirked with satisfaction. Now you understand, right? It's time for you to get a divorce, old lady. With that, she left the hospital with an air of triumph. I felt a wave of forced resignation but knew what I had to do. The timing had just accelerated. I quickly told the head nurse I was feeling unwell and requested leave for the next day. Despite her puzzled look at my sudden cheerfulness, she approved my request. I set my plan into motion immediately. The confrontation would happen the following day. The next morning, I was in my father's office at the clinic where John works. My father, the clinic director, reviewed the photos and documents I had laid out on the desk, his expression serious. Yes, from the moment I first met Nicole, I hired a detective agency to investigate the possibility of infidelity. I had the means, and regardless of the outcome, I viewed it as an investment for the well-being of my family. Although the investigation was supposed to last a month, Nicole's appearance cut it short. I managed to gather 2 weeks' worth of evidence, which was damning. Nicole had accompanied John on his recent business trip and stayed with him in the same room. Moreover, they had spent time together at our house almost daily between his morning and afternoon consultations. My father's face darkened with concern, but he looked up with resolve. Mary, what do you want to do? Take the children into account and consider your decision carefully. I'm getting a divorce. The decision was final. Despite how much it pained me to upset my father, my immediate declaration made him sigh, and he asked me to wait a moment while he called John using the internal phone. After a while, when things had settled, John walked in, unaware of what was happening. His smile faded as soon as he saw the photos spread out on the desk, his face growing pale as he took in the evidence. What is this? John, these are pictures of you and Nicole together. With this much evidence, there's no denying the affair. We're getting a divorce. What? Divorce? Why? It was just a fling. What matters to me is you and our family. Nicole had come to disrupt my work and mentioned that you weren't interested in older women like me. That's not true. You're beautiful. You're not old. Dad, call Nicole. My father, startled by my request, quickly called Nicole. Doctor, you wanted to see me? Nicole entered, pleased to be summoned personally by the director. When she saw me with John, a smirk appeared on her face. Nicole, could you explain these photos? Nicole glanced at the pictures, her initial frown quickly replaced by a dismissive smirk. I'm sorry, doctor, John and I are together. I know about Mary, but I'm here to support him as a housewife. This way, he can focus on his work and be a better father, don't you think? It seemed Nicole mistakenly thought my father was John's father. John looked speechless, his face ashen. Mary, have you decided to go through with the divorce? I'll provide severance pay and take good care of your children, so don't worry. I couldn't help but chuckle at Nicole's dramatic speech. Was I actually laughing? Nicole's irritation was evident, as she clearly didn't find it amusing. It's not severance pay, it's alimony, and since I'll be raising the kids, I'll need child support from John. Well, if that's the case, then so be it. I'm glad you agree to the divorce. Now I can be with John. Stop it. John's voice was strained, but Nicole, caught up in her own excitement, didn't seem to hear him. Well then, once you're ready, please vacate the house. Stop it. John grabbed Nicole's shoulder to silence her. Nicole, caught off guard, looked up at him in surprise. Nicole, I'm sorry, it was just a fling. My family is important to me, and I can't be with you. As John spoke, the color drained from Nicole's face in shock. Why? You promised you'd divorce and marry me. You said you'd make me the future director's wife, and I believed you. You said you weren't into older women like her, and that she's always at work and never home. You told me how lonely you were. It felt like I was witnessing a dramatic breakup unfold before me. My impatience was growing thin. That's enough. I'm divorcing John. I'll be seeking alimony from both of you, and John will also need to pay child support. That's all. I tried to end the conversation, but my father, understanding my straightforward nature, interjected with a chuckle. Well, since my daughter has made her position clear, sorry John, but it ends here. Wait, did you just say your daughter? Yes, Mary is my daughter, and John is my son-in-law. John, I had considered you as my successor, but that's no longer the case. The house is mine, so you're the one who needs to leave. John is your son-in-law. He never told me that. What happens if he's no longer the heir? Does he have to leave the house? Nicole's panic was evident. Mary, I'm truly sorry. Suddenly, John fell to his knees and bowed deeply. Nicole was nothing more than a fling. I can't ask for your forgiveness, but could you possibly give me another chance? His desperate bowing was likely due to the threat of losing his job. No matter how deeply he bowed, I couldn't find it in me to forgive him. Besides the affair, there was another reason I couldn't overlook. That's impossible. Do you recognize this? I pulled out my cell phone and showed him the blue penguin charm. Seeing John's face go pale, I knew he was guilty. When John came to the hospital yesterday and showed me the photo, I was thrilled with the matching penguin charms. You bought one for each of us and told me how penguins mate for life. I cherished my blue penguin, and you had the light blue one. But Nicole, you have the light blue one on your phone too, don't you? Did John buy that for you? Yes, Nicole admitted. And John, defeated, confirmed it. That's why it's impossible to continue. We should break up. Nicole has the exact same charm, not just a different color. That shows me enough about your feelings. I can't forgive you, no matter what. Please, Mary. John, I am deeply outraged. As a father, you've betrayed my daughter. And Nicole, you disrupted the clinic by having an affair with a married man. As the clinic director, I must hold both of you accountable, so be prepared for consequences. I'm so sorry, but please let me keep my job. From now on, we'll handle things through lawyers. You both can leave for today, and starting tomorrow, you'll be on paid leave. You don't have to come to work. Wait, I don't understand. John, you're a doctor, can't you just work somewhere else? Quit this small clinic and start over. Please, Nicole, let's end this. I never meant to lose my family or my happiness. Are you serious? You deceived me. Nicole's anger was evident, and my father stepped in, ending their argument and kicking them out. John had always claimed that family was his top priority, so why did he betray us like this? I didn't want to return to the house where John and Nicole had evidently spent so much time together. I asked my father if my children and I could stay at my parents' house for a while. When we arrived, I felt a wave of relief. Even though it was still early in the day, exhaustion took over, and I fell into a deep sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night, startled by the darkness. Checking the clock, I saw it was already midnight, which explained my sudden fatigue. I noticed my phone was glowing with missed calls and text messages from John. I wasn't ready to hear his voice, so I read through the messages instead. They were filled with apologies and excuses for his affair. One message, in particular, stood out. John pleading for my father's intervention due to his remorse, which made me laugh cynically. It seemed he was more concerned about securing his position at the clinic than truly feeling remorseful. I was consumed by anger and frustration. I ripped the penguin charm from my phone and threw it in the trash. Overwhelmed by sadness, I began to cry uncontrollably. Despite the hour, my mother, who had been sleeping, woke up and stayed with me throughout the night. The warmth of family was comforting. The more I thought about wanting to create a family like this, the harder I cried. By morning, I felt much better. My mother was worried, but I'm someone who moves on quickly. I had already severed my emotional ties with John. That day, I met with a lawyer my father had recommended and swiftly arranged for alimony and child support payments. I decided to leave the rest to the lawyer and return to my daily life. Though it took longer than anticipated, the lawyer eventually confirmed that the divorce was finalized. John had resisted, unwilling to let go of both the marriage and the clinic. However, he ultimately agreed to a settlement after being advised that he would likely lose in court. Once the divorce was finalized, Nicole and her parents learned of the news and pressured John into marrying her. He couldn't refuse due to our child and the substantial alimony I had demanded. John also had to pay the child support in a lump sum, leaving him nearly broke. Nicole, furious that things hadn't gone as planned, abandoned housework, leading to frequent arguments between them. The lawyer kept me updated. Additionally, my father, though now running a small clinic, had once been a department head at a large hospital. Thanks to his extensive network, news of John's predicament spread quickly. Finding a new job as a doctor was proving difficult for him. Whether he'll leave town or find a different job doesn't concern me. My father decided to rent out the house we used to live in, as I had made it clear that I never wanted to return there. I've resolved to build a new home for my family of 3 with my own funds. Until then, I'll stay at my parents' house to care for my children. I'm still young, and I joked with my parents about the possibility of finding someone new. They laughed and called me impatient.